Episode 78 of Strange Brow Radio. I'm your host again, Tobe Johnson. How are you? It's good to be back. I am dog tired, but I'm burning the midnight oil here like a lot of you are. I just got back from a ghost hunt, so I'm a little bit punchy. It was a sleeping on a cot situation in a haunted attic. And that was with the Olympic Peninsula Paranormal Society, OPS, and their team leader, Mary Bethune, at the Walker-Ames House in Gig Harbor. So more on that later. But we don't have a show without our sponsor, Feral by Aaron, E-R-Y-N, at Etsy.com. Check out Feral by Aaron for alchemy sound tools. And crone stones, don't forget those. That's Feral by Aaron, museum quality, working, functioning, sound, alchemy sound tools at Etsy.com. E-R-Y-N is how you spell that. Okay, well, we have a guest. I'll tell you more about both of them in just a minute. Well, if you go back to episode 66 with our guest, Sacha Christie, experiencer and abductee and talk show host of Access Northwest in the UK. You've heard part 1 and 2 of Sacha's experience. We have Sacha back for part 3, and alongside her is experiencer and relatively close neighbor, Paula Elisabeth Green, who has experienced a life with the Greys and many other entities. Now, their stories are remarkably similar in some ways, but their perspective on what's going on is very different. They're a good duo, let's put it this way. So it was a really interesting, fun interview to do with both of them, and it was also a YouTube video that I'll be putting up for patron members. So there is a part in this interview where I think there is a little bit of a commercial break where both of these guests take a commercial break here, and I'm having trouble finding out where this little coffee break or potty break happened for one of us here, and it must be extremely brief. So forgive me for not being able to edit out that direct pause, but I think you will enjoy the show in all its raw format. I give to you Sacha Christie and fellow experiencer Paula Elisabeth Green. All right, I'm back with Sacha Christie and Paula Elisabeth Green. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, now you guys are across the pond, and there's a little time difference here, of course. So let's get started before you have to go to bed. And we have quite a bit to get through. Sacha, audience knows you a little bit based upon the circumstances of your UFO experiences and everything surrounding it. You've had an incredible life, and you've had some contrail stuff that you've been watching out for, which I want to get to that. So let's make sure that we
Okay.
touch upon that, because I have some really good questions about contrails and chemtrails and the lack of air traffic that we're all going to experience now globally due to this pandemic, and what to maybe watch out for the average Joe. But
Yeah.
before we get to Paula and your experience with her, because you guys have some shared experiences, it sounds like, just remind people over the next 5 minutes or so a little bit about your initial experiences leading up to meeting Paula.
Well, basically, I'd had the UFO sighting in 1997 in Wales when I went with my now ex-boyfriend Steve and his sister Danya. She took her son. Their uncle John came. I was there with my son. We'd just gone for a weekend away, and we had a huge UFO come towards us. At some point, another one ended up being on the ground behind us, which was a spear, which I saw strobe, looked, there it was. I said, "Oh, look, there's another one," and everybody kind of looked at it and, oh yeah, and carried on looking at the one that was above us. So kind of we all fell apart, literally fell apart and fell out. 8 years later, I go on the internet and go on a forum and tell a little bit about that story. But basically, since joining the UFO community, much more has happened. I did have something happen in early, like 92, with a little blue, big black-eyed, kind of fat, slash-mouthed uh, goblin. I don't really know what to call it. So I thought that was a dream. I treated that as a dream until years later when I seen community and I realised that it can't have been a dream because you can't dream the same things as somebody else. So I was having stuff going on before, but I've had quite a chaotic life. So, a lot of things have just been kind of forgotten. I've had a lot of paranormal stuff, more paranormal than I have ET. There's huge gaps in my EC experiences, up to a decade, But since joining the UFO community and staying with people and hopping about, it it got a lot worse, and I've not had any of the nice things that people always talk about. The light beings, Palladians. I've had no lovely messages. I've no message for mankind. Nothing special about any of it. Just I found it to be quite brutal. Whereas Paula's had some sort of interaction on a different level to to mine, but maybe that's because I'm a naturally easily freaked out person, and maybe Paula is not as easily scared as me. She seems to be able to interact on a better level, or her experiences seem to be more, interactive rather than mine are like subjective, like something's being done to me, whereas Paula's kind of having some kind of information exchange. I mean, I did have an information exchange with the one where I call the Power Ranger, but I think that was part of a distraction, um, as well because of other people being in the house at the time. So I kind of think because I I've always been angry about this and always been, protective with my children, and I've always kind of been a bit murderous feeling towards them. So I think that if anything's been going on with the rest of my family, they've kind of kept me in place because at one point in time I went and learned kung fu because I just felt like I needed to fight for my life. I didn't even really tweak to why. I had this feeling, but I wanted to be able to protect myself and my family. So I think that's one of the reasons why, I've been so challenging with them and shouting at them and calling them all kinds of names and demanding that they show themselves, and they show themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then I crap myself. I've never asked for that again, trust
Mm-hmm.
me. So I've had a very different experience in feeling and emotion and impact to Paula, who
Mm-hmm.
has, obviously she's traumatized as well, but there's some familiarity there with hers and a lot more um, experiences with
Mm-hmm.
ET than I have. Because a lot of mine's all a lot of paranormal, but Paula has that as well. I don't know any abductees, contactees, whatever you want to call yourselves, who have this and don't have paranormal stuff as
Mm-hmm.
well. It just seems to all go with the territory. And it doesn't seem to be both at the same time. It's either or,
Mm-hmm.
weirdly.
So
So,
how did the initial friendship start? Uh, Explain that again to the audience as far as who met who initiated the friendship.
well, at the
Uh,
time, there was an organization called AMASH, which are now called AMS, and they were doing videos with abductees. And they were kind of running a support network, but not everybody wanted to do a video. They wanted everyone to do a video, but Paula wouldn't. She just wanted to talk to somebody. So this woman gave Paula my number, and so over to Paula.
Okay, Paula, you take it from there.
You take it from there, Paula.
from the well, what it was is I'd got to the end of my tether with all this. I just couldn't take it anymore with all the abductions and you know, I've seen more greys than what I have UFOs anyway. But I've never really seen the two together. I have, but not as people would perceive it, you know, like they put them together all the time. But mine's been going on since I was 4. And I've had year gaps, 10-year gap, 3-year gap, 6-year gaps. And I just got to the point where it was terrifying me that much and I needed contact with someone. And I'd looked in on Google for, you know, someone to contact. And so I just basically put abductions, who do I contact? Googled it, you know, someone in the UK. And the first thing that come up was this group, Amach. Is it Amash or Amach? Sacha? Yeah, a mess.
A mess.
And at first I picked the phone up and then I dialed it, picked it up, let it ring 3 times, put it down. And I thought, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, you're going to sound a right idiot, you know? And then I left it a day or 2 and I thought, no, I really need to do this. So I picked the phone up, put it down again. So whoever's at the other side, which is Joanna Summerscales, is answering these calls and I'm putting them down. And then on the 3rd time, I thought, I've really got to crack on with this. So I picked it up. I was shaking like a leaf. And I just basically just spurted it all out, that, you know. And yeah, so I said that I'm not willing to do anything other than to chat with someone in my local area. And so that's when she gave me Sacha Christie's number. Mm-hmm. And then from there we became friends. So.
Well, describe, Paula, what happened to you from the beginning, if you can, to give people perspective on why you would reach out. I mean, you're describing seeing grays more so than UFOs, and you don't see them together. So it must have intense experiences, the recollection
very
in particular.
Intense. It'd be a long time if I went through all this lot up to even meeting Sacha. So I really can't do them all. So, you know, I could
give people an idea. Give them an idea of what we're talking about.
Go for more recent ones, I reckon. The ones that were happening around about the time that, you know, prompted you to get... Yeah, because they were really, all really crazy stuff.
The ones that I met you basically from then, you know, before I met you.
Yeah.
I've got to find them because it's so hard. So the one where, right, okay, so I'll pick one out here, which is
while you're doing that, though, I want to ask you, I mean, you are a childhood abductee, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a storied history of dealing with mainly grays or the whole variety of...
Well, it was only when I got older that the actual different ones started coming into it. But it was when I was younger, it was mainly grays. You know, it ain't always grays. It's just when I'm older that they start changing their appearance. And
does this go back in lineage on the women's side? Does your mother have this? Does
my grandma? With my grandma. Oh, now she never said that she saw them, but it was my grandma that saw the UFO, and it was my grandma that when. This is a story that, because I never knew my granddad, but the story as it goes, it was what my grandma actually told me was that she knew the night basically that my granddad was going to die, and they were both lying in bed together and they were really poorly, but it wasn't poorly enough to be on the deathbed, if you know what I mean. So she's got a curtain. We always have his curtains in his bedrooms open slightly, you know, to let that bit of light in. And she's laying in bed next to him and he's fast asleep. And she's looking out at window. She couldn't sleep and she's lying in bed looking out at window. And she could see she could see these stars. And one of them particular took her eye, caught her eye, and she said it was like a vivid blue, right, bright, vivid blue star. And she kind of, went to the toilet, made a drink, come back up, went to bed. And she still couldn't get to sleep, so she's still gazing out the window. But when she got back, this star had kind of got bigger. And before you know it, it's kind of outside and is a laser, like she said, a laser beam. She didn't describe it as that because then we didn't know what laser beams was. So, something to us, something like that would have been something that you put in space, with NASA or whatever. But she said it was like a blue, size of a pencil light, so what we class as a laser beam now, and it hit my granddad in the forehead, and it like as if all his face kind of lit up blue. And she don't remember out after that, but the day after my granddad passed away, but she did say, I knew when that light hit his forehead that he was going to pass away the day after, and he did. So, but my other members of the family are not like me or my grandma were. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I interrupted you here. You were going to go more to the recent stuff that happened here. So tell
I don't know why
everybody
I
about
had
your experiences.
recent stuff, right? But you did ask if anybody else in the family had,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely. I mean, don't you guys think that that's an important detail to get in on and talk about? Well, here, let's talk about this. Do you feel as though there's a connection between the women, particularly the women in your family, perhaps being experienced of any kind, or do you feel there's a link?
not sure. What do you think, Sacha?
Well, my mum, she says all hers are dreams. She calls them dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started talking, she told me to put a lid on it and don't talk about it because when you set the lid off, you can't get it back on. She's told me a few things that she's seen. My gran once told me that she saw a cigar-shaped UFO over a main road in Leeds, where I'm from. But when I brought that up, I don't know, maybe about 8 years ago, she's denied ever saying it. But she said it before I was even interested majorly in UFOs. So yeah, I think it's in the family, definitely a familial thing.
And you two are basically, you have a sister-like friendship over this. Would that be fair to
We got
assume?
called, yeah, my
Wonder
co-host,
twins.
yeah, my guy, he's dead now. Guy, he nicknamed us the Wonder Twins. We've got the same laugh,
Yeah.
same sort of accent. We are both very noisy, and we both never stop eating.
We can't sit still.
You can't sit still. Both hyperactive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. What about blood types? Do you guys share a blood type at all? Do you know that?
I'm just ordinary blood,
Bloody blood.
But me grandma were a negative, so RH negative. That was my grandma.
Your grandmother? Yeah.
My mum is AB negative, but I'm just O positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you exhausted all these roads here to see if there's some connection between why they're interested in both of you?
Well, we sort of have conversations where we wonder if there's batches of something. I don't know. I mean, then you're kind of saying that you're some sort of hybrid or there's been some sort of interference genetically, which I don't really know that that's the case. We don't really know. I think it's just maybe coincidence that we kind of lived about 10 miles apart most of our lives. And that, a lot of women in Yorkshire are a bit bawdy and, a bit lively like we are. So I'm not sure that.
You have shared experiences on crafts together? Is that what I remember you
Not
saying before, Sacha?
Not on a craft, no.
Okay.
No.
We But well,
No.
okay. So I had
I'll say,
a reptilian encounter in 2007, which I talked about in the last show that we did. So my friend, whose son it was, who's the main abductee in the family, he was having a bit of a hard time. You know, when you when you come out, we all get death threats, we all get told to kill ourselves, all the rest of it. He'd been having a hard time in that respect.
Wait, wait, wait,
So
wait, wait. Hold on. We got to stop there. Okay,
yeah,
that's a really upsetting detail.
well, that's
Um,
why he doesn't talk anymore.
have
He
you
doesn't.
been given death threats and told to commit suicide?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I'm
You,
gonna put
Paula, as
my
well?
no, not me,
No.
no.
Okay. And
yeah.
what
I've
do you
had.
think the difference is with that, Sasha? Because you're a public figure? I mean, that's what I would assume.
I think that is
Well,
it.
yeah, it is, and well, because I outed a fraud, and because if I know somebody's a liar, I'll say they're a liar. If somebody
Mm,
goes, "I've got an implant in my neck and it sets off alarms at airports," I'll go, "No, you haven't, and no, you wouldn't. And if you had one in your neck, you wouldn't think it was funny. You would be freaking out about it." And people don't like being talked to like that. They don't
mm-hmm,
like. I want the truth. I don't want it. The scene is so polluted with the
mm-hmm,
absolute garbage. If I see someone lying and taking advantage of people or completely conning people,
mm-hmm,
then I'll point it out. And that's why you either like me or
mm-hmm.
you literally, want me dead.
So
I've had
these are
past 4 years.
individuals. These aren't alphabet agencies hovering over you, cloak and dagger style, telling you
Well,
this.
no, 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 no. This is people. This is the UFO community. This is what the
Trolls.
UFO
Gotcha.
community does to
Mm-hmm,
its own bread and butter. You know what I mean? It,
mm-hmm,
it destroys
Oh,
it and then replaces it with its own self-importance and
mm-hmm,
its own jibber jabber. So most of the research, most of the people are researchers. There's very few of us that are like witnesses, abductees who are out there singing this song because we get cannibalized and by the fakes basically. So there's very few of us. Most of the abductees I know very rarely talk. I mean, I'm
mm-hmm,
doing some projects now, and they've agreed
mm-hmm,
that they'll do some stuff with me. But as a rule, they don't do public stuff anymore because it's just too dangerous for the mental health.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've had people handing my address out and calling me a terrorist, and like somebody threatened to put my windpipe through my spine and end my life. Someone was going to cut my nose off and shoot my family. All sorts of stuff like that. Yeah,
Uh,
and it's
wow. Okay.
yeah,
These
it's
are these
intense.
are common things to go through as a witness over there. I don't know if we have that here.
It depends, but
Mm-hmm,
sometimes, yeah, it depends
mm-hmm,
on what you like. There's if you play the game, if you
mm-hmm,
toe the line, if you kiss asses, if you pretend to be a persona and not a real person, then
mm-hmm,
they'll you're allowed in the club. But if you actually want the truth and you're forthright and you point out the frauds, and it's like, oh no, I can't. That makes things uncomfortable because I
mm-hmm,
have to sit with this person in this conference.
mm-hmm.
So you see all these people pumping
Right.
out garbage, but when you
Mm-hmm,
sat next to them in a conference, you're like, oh well, they're just a normal person and they're quite nice and funny. So all of their sins are wiped away because you just see them all the time, and
mm-hmm,
you're all pals now.
mm-hmm.
It's rubbish.
Now, Paula,
So
maybe you can expound on this too, not only what Sasha was saying, but as far as shared experiences with her, what's the last experience that you have shared? It doesn't have to be on a craft, obviously, but
with Sacha, we're not being on a craft. No. How
it'd be
long
the
ago did we
reptilian thing.
go? Yeah. How long ago did we go to Anne Andrews? How long ago was that? What
It's
year?
got, it was
5 years ago.
before Poppy, wasn't it? So it must be 6 years.
Mm,
About 6 years.
yeah. So I'll go into that one then about the Anne
okay.
Andrews. Okay. So we talked about going to Anne Andrews, haven't we? Which her son is abductee, and
Well, he was the one that was getting the threats, and he wasn't very well. So this is why we're
yeah,
going down there, because to sort of like cheer him up and make him feel human
Mm-hmm,
again. So I
yeah,
said to Paula, look, I said, this is where this happened to me. So please think very, very carefully before you come, because I can't guarantee your safety at all, and something might happen. And if it does, I'll feel terrible. But, you know, she wanted to meet Anne and she wanted to meet Jason. So she was like, yeah, I'm coming. So we went.
And you know, it doesn't matter how many times people tell me, no, I'll do it. Don't press the red button. That's me, basically, in a nutshell. So, yeah, so she did pre-warn me, did Sacha, and, you know, I don't want to be responsible for whatever happens to you. But because there was a lot going on with Jason anyway, and his, you know, his interactions with him, and it's on his, you know, his mum's property and that, I thought, oh, they're not going to come after me. Oh, I might be safe for once.
And I was thinking, what are the chances of it happening twice? Nil, you know.
Yeah. So we'd set off, hadn't we? And basically, so we gets there, introduces me, and then Jason's dad scared me because he was stood in a doorway with a pizza box, and I screamed in his face.
Literally.
Oh my gosh. And then you know, we were eating in that one way. She said, right, you're staying, is it Jason's old bedroom?
Yeah.
Now, was this...
I went to the loo and I came downstairs. Everything was really weird. So I just took myself off to bed. So I wasn't there for all of this. I was
right.
Don't want to know.
Don't want to know. That was strange. But I was sat in a corner on one of those like leather high back chairs, and I'm sure it was green. I don't know why that colour sticks in my head that this chair were green, but irrelevant to what's going to happen. But she had some visitors round, didn't she? Did Anne, Jason's mum?
James and Lynn, yeah.
James and Lynn, and there were another two.
Chris, somebody, I can't remember. Yeah.
Right. So, bearing in mind that I really didn't know these people at all, and I'd only just met Anne that day. So, you know, they tried talking me into conversation, and, you know, and I'm like, I don't know what you're on about, but I'm going, yeah, you know. So, it kind of felt like I would going, how would you say it, going into another reality. It's like everything just kind of like that, and so like they were there in front of me talking away. Sat down, there were two sofas, one facing this way and one facing that way. And it were like all of a sudden they became miles away, but yet they were so close. Even the voices sounded so distant, but yet they were so close. And it was like I was switching into switching into another reality, perhaps. I don't know what it was.
Well, you were pitching forward and you're going, I feel like something's trying to, like,
yeah, this is just,
me.
I'm building up to that, yeah.
That's when I ran away.
And this is when I started kind of switching over into this other reality. I don't know what it was. And it did feel weird. And I tried escaping from it. I stood up and I moved about, moved my cushion. I thought, if I get out, maybe this feeling will go, but it didn't. So I thought, well, I don't just want to walk off. I'd feel a bit rude, you know, so I kind of sat there and put up with it. And they were still talking, but it was just jumbled up to me, and I was watching them, but it was just all jumbled up noise. And all of a sudden, I felt this, like a pushing in my lower back. Like, you know when you sat on a bus and you've got someone with either long knees or a kid that's kicking back at bus seat. And it was very much like that. And it was only slight at first, and then it's every minute it sort of be getting stronger to a point where it felt like two hands were pushing. And it was going, but who did you say? What, Lynn's partner? Who was Lynn's partner?
James.
And he must have picked up on me feeling like this, or seeing me lean forward, and then go back. And he said, let it through. And I'm like, what the hell's he on about? Let it through. What am I letting through? And I said, I can feel something pushing me back. And yes, so he's saying, let it through, blah, blah, blah. And they're all kind of sat there watching me. So I felt a bit intimidated by all this watching. But anyway, I just couldn't hold it back. It was so powerful, this thing that were trying to push me lower back. That I actually, at one point, I flung forward, and I kind of managed to get back again. And I just said, I can't hold it any longer. And I felt this entire thing come into my body, come into my body. It was like I was being overtaken by something. I can't describe how the feeling was, but it was there. It was definitely there. And I saw this body come out of me, and I'm looking now at this bum right in front of my face with long chunky, so it's a bit higher, so I'm looking slightly up at this whoever's bum, but his legs were right chunky, his thighs, chunky thighs. It wasn't fat, it was muscular. But he's from like kneecaps, well, no, lower, maybe halfway down his calf, mingled into my legs. So they were through my legs. And I just had, but it was like as if when I looked up, his head, he's got his head down like that because he don't want to touch roof, even though he's just walked through me. And I know damn well that even if his head touched the roof, he'd go through it with no problem.
That's where I was laying in bed. Its head would have been in my body.
Oh, got you. So you're upstairs a flight.
I was right above Paula in the bedroom, in the bed.
So, why is he crouching his head down? Why has he got his head down? Because he's so tall, he's got his head down, but yet he's just walked through my body, so he's not going to have a problem putting his head through the ceiling, So I couldn't understand that bit. But
when I saw it from the back, I didn't see its head either. It had its head down.
Yeah.
And neither of us saw its face. Neither of us have seen its face.
No. And what I saw of it, it was a grey colour, but when it stepped out of my legs, so its size, it stepped one forward, another forward, and it took 2 strides, and it stood at the back of Anne, the side of Anne. And what I'm looking at, when it moves, it's like an iridescent, so it looks different, slightly different colours. Even though the total is grey, but there's also a slightly tinge of different colours as well when it moves about, so it's slightly iridescent. But I can't see any wrinkles. I can't see any. I can't explain anything more than what
described it as looking at like plasticine.
Plasticine, yeah, plasticine, and it got to Anne, and it put its hand on shoulder, and I knew it wasn't a grey as you would see a normal grey with there, and I know them, I've seen it enough times, but I knew it wasn't that, even though it was a grey but iridescent colours towards it. And it put its hand, right, muscular sort of, but slender, and on Anne's shoulder. And I looked at Anne and I said, it wants you. And now, if this was a load of rubbish, she's not automatically going to say, go like that and look up to it. knowing exactly where that head was. I could have said any shoulder. And she went, get off my shoulder, looked up at it, and she went like that. How did she know it was that one and not that one? How did she know where that, it could have been stood there, but it was exactly where I'd seen it and said that it wants you.
How visible is this to you, this experience? Is there any kind of dream state quality to it?
No, not whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Not whatsoever. It's just this thing in what I'm looking at is just as solid as who's ever going to be in the room with me.
Mm-hmm.
The atmosphere was so different in that room because I'd been up to the toilet.
Horrible
I walked down the stairs and I walked into the living room and I kind of stood there and I looked around and I remember putting my hand on my lip like this and then I walked through the living room, through the other door and I went all the way around and I went straight upstairs and I got straight into bed in the dark in that room where I'd been taken before and went to bed on my own.
With the light out.
With the light out. I don't sleep with the light out. It was like it was just like my body. I just went, no, I'm off.
Yeah.
And that was it. But that was not like me. Because why would I drive for 6, 7 hours to get there to just go to bed when all this goes off?
Right.
Yeah. So while Anne's talking to this thing, she's saying, no, you're not having Jason. I don't want to talk to you. Get off my shoulder. Go away. To my left is the door, and then directly behind, to that right, is the staircase going up in it. And I could see through that dividing wall a grey coming down the steps, which was what I call my little grey, the Danny DeVito. And it's coming down the steps holding a gold balloon. So now this is going to sound really strange, but it's like those two, my grey and that thing, which I think was a reptilian, could not see each other. I don't know whether that's just me thinking that or using my grey as some sort of decoy. I have no idea. So he comes downstairs and he's quite happy. He's like, it's only very little. He's about maybe 4 foot tall, and quite happily coming downstairs. And he's holding this what looks like a shimmery golden balloon. And I knew it wasn't a balloon, and he tried passing it to me. And I'm like, no, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. But I'm trying to look at this thing and see what them lot are talking about. And he's kind of coaxing me, take this balloon, and I just knew it wasn't a balloon. It was more of a live, it wasn't swirly inside or anything like that. But it had a movement to it. It not bobbling about like a balloon would do when you move it. It was, it had some kind of movement to it, and it was gold, sparkly, shimmery. And I blatantly just refused to take this gold balloon. And off he went, back upstairs. It kind of gave me now they don't look at, they have the normal blank expression, you know what I mean? But I can feel their expressions as an energy. So when I say kind of looked at me a bit bemused and a bit pissed off, it wasn't his face that was showing that expression. It was his energy that was showing that expression. Yeah. And so off he went upstairs. I don't know where he went from there. I really can't remember. Sorry.
Is this heading towards your room, Sacha? I mean,
it is.
It's in your vicinity where this gray's headed back to?
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you remember anything?
I was out of it, completely out of it.
So you mean
Immediately
when you say
asleep.
out of it, you're almost like in a hypnotic state. Is that?
I'd gone to bed and it just
Mm-hmm.
completely shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a common theme that we've heard over and over for experiencers that, have a mutual experience with either a small number of people or a large number of people, and they seem to either sleep extremely hard, you can't wake them up, or
Yeah.
they are suddenly turned into these, sheeple.
Well, Paul, Anne's husband, Jason's dad, Anne and Jason and his brother, they all had experiences, and Jason would freak out. This is as a child. So Paul, his dad, would try and sit in the room and stay awake, and every single time anything went on, Paul was never involved. He was always sparkle, out like a light. Nothing, he couldn't protect his family. He couldn't stay awake. Jason would be shouting at him, "You fell asleep again, Devine, you fell asleep, you didn't protect me," and there was nothing he could do to stay awake. They would just knock him out. So I think that is what happened to me.
Okay, now earlier, Sasha, you were talking about implants. Is that something that you and Paula haven't experienced?
No. Oh, I've had an insertion in my spine at the bottom, but I'm not sure whether
I had all those
I don't
puncture
know.
marks and bruises on the back of my hand, but I don't know.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
they say
I won't
this
say I will.
this reptilian thing, it didn't end there.
There, we haven't finished it
Okay,
yet.
go
No.
ahead. Let's go back to the moment where the gray went upstairs.
There's right. So Anne is still telling this thingy you're not having Jason, and I don't recall much more from there, but I remember we all kind of dispersed and it was time for bed, and so I don't remember that bit there, up to going to bed. And I get into bed, and when I got into the bedroom, I remember thinking, why is Sacha in the dark? I'd opened the door and it was pitch black in the bedroom. And I knew that she had the same feeling as me, that we have to have the light coming through the bedroom, or a light on,
I need to better see what's in the room.
Yeah, same with me. Otherwise, I'm just totally freaked out. And that crossed my mind a bit, and I did think, why is she in dark? I just couldn't figure that one out. But anyway, so I opened the bedroom door, hoping that Sacha wouldn't wake up and say, "Will you shut that door?" So, but she was that far gone anyway. So, I get into bed. I've opened the door a little bit, and I'm continuously drawn to looking at these wardrobes, thinking, God, I hope something don't come out in that, But then I've drifted off into a sleep. Next minute, I'm laying, Sacha sat up in bed, and it's like it switched from one thing to other. Sacha is sat upright on the bed, and I'm leaning, got my stomach on the bed, with my arms like that, and my legs up, flailing about in air, and my feet are near the window, and now we're talking away, so there's about a foot between my feet and the window sill, and me and Sacha are talking away, but as we're talking, Sacha is going into a kind of would you call a trance-like state, very slowly. So it's me that's talking. Like nothing's wrong. In normal circumstances, I'd say, "Are you all right, Sacha?" Eyes are kind of glaring into nothingness, head starting to droop, but I didn't. I just carried on talking like nothing were any different. And all of a sudden, she's just like that, just staring basically into nothingness. I'm talking. And she kind of looks like that towards me, turns really slow, didn't say a word, no facial expression, nothing there whatsoever. And she looks at me like that. And straight away, I said to her, "It's there, isn't it?" And she kind of, it was just no. And I turned slowly. And there was the same little grey stood by my feet, the same height as the window ledge. And it's got this sympathetic energy coming across. With that energy, I knew that something were going to kick off at that moment. But as soon as I thought that, I knew something grabbed my feet. I couldn't see behind me. I would just run straight to Sacha. Sacha's basically out of it, gone. Her eyes shut the lot. Her head, her chin is on her chest, and she's basically sat like that. They've grabbed me feet, not my ankles, around the middle of my feet, and all of a sudden I've got this feeling, and I'm backwards, and so I'm going basically backwards by my feet, and it was so quick, so fast, and then it gets to the pane of glass. I have no time to think at all. None. There's no thought there. And I sees the pane of glass from my peripheral view, coming in, going in, getting closer till it gets to about there. And everything just slowed right down. And as it's slowing down, it's like going through syrup, you know. Not that I've ever put my head in syrup, but that's the feeling that I get, you know. It's a gloopy sort of. And but yeah, as it gets to here, where my eyes are, I could see it was grey. It was like a fine membrane, really fine membrane, and but it didn't stop at the wall where the walls would stop in the room. It was, if I could see it, just carrying on and on and on and on.
So you mean like your eyeballs had melded with the glass, and it was just...
Yeah, but it was grey membrane and not glass. And when it kind of, I could see it kind of closing in like this, but it just went like that, and it had gone back to glass, and gone. I was gone. I'm at a 45-degree angle going backwards. But yeah, I had my night dress on, my night shirt. Now, something going that speed, it was like doing 400 miles an hour and not going anywhere. And something doing that speed, I'm going backwards. My night dress should have been over my head. You know what I mean? It should have gone like this. And I know it's still. And I'm just going up. And I'm watching Sacha through the window. And Sacha's still like that, like this. And then I'm beginning to see outside the house. And I'm beginning to see the garden and that. And then all of the house comes in play, and there's the fields behind it and the road in front. I'm still going 400 miles an hour, and but yeah, it seems to be taking ages to get to the middle of the field at the speed that I was going at. I should have been somewhere in Liverpool, you know. And that's when I realised speed, time, and distance do not make any sense whatsoever. It doesn't exist. And it all started going black from there, and that's it. I don't remember anything else about that.
And then I woke up.
Yeah.
Paula, like, there. Yeah. Sacha. I was like, what? Oh, God, something's happened.
What it was is
on top of me with her face this far away from mine, shouting in my face.
Yeah, now how that started was in the middle of the night. When I said that, I don't remember how after that, so I don't know whether I went in a craft. You know, I don't know whether I actually moved anywhere, but when I was looking down, my body is not on that bed. So so that bit's blacked out from there. And then I gets up in the middle of the night or early morning, I'm not sure. And
Well,
I'm busting for the toilet. So I goes to the toilet and it just hit me what has
but
happened.
when I got into bed, right, I walked in the room, I got in the bed on that side. When I woke up, I was on that side. When she came to bed and I thought I'd gone up and fallen asleep, I was on this side of the bed. When I
Yeah,
woke up with her on top of me shouting in my face, I was on this side of the
that's
bed.
right. Yeah. And how is that possible? But so I'd gone to the toilet. When I'm actually sat on the toilet, that's when it hit me that everything happened. Boom! It was like a brick's bashing me in the brain. And it was like, I just shot out of that toilet straight in the bedroom and I jumped on the bed and I go, Sacha! Something's
I was
happened
going,
to me.
I went,
I was going
oh
to
my
watch this
God,
side.
oh my God, I knew this was a bad idea. I knew I shouldn't have brought you. Oh my God.
No sympathy
No,
whatsoever.
no, are you all right?
So within the floods of tears, I thought, well, she's half asleep. I've just done that, and I tries to go.
I'd obviously been through something.
Mhm.
That little grey kept coming upstairs. I was on a different side of the bed. Something had gone on. So whatever it, like I had something going on when you woke me up like that, and I was,
Yeah.
something had happened. But all I remember is a dream of being above, not the house. I
Mhm.
could see I was outside and I was in the air, and I could see the little Victorian light that Anne's got by her back porch door,
Mhm.
and I was over Paul's black car that has got the MIB UFO
Number
license
plate.
plate. So that's all I remember. There's just a little snippet of being in midair. But obviously
So
something had happened because I'd gone to bed on one side and woke up on the other with Paula screaming in my face, which was a rude
I was
awakening.
horrified. I was just horrified. I've never
Yeah.
been that
Well, I did
scared
that
of
to Ellis, same way. I woke up in that room after what had happened to me. I had somebody go to the toilet. It was Ellis. I ran out of that room like I had literally bright red hair at the time. I must have looked like probably the scariest
screaming
thing I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my God. And so neither of us have gone back. We love Anne dearly, and Jason. I'm too scared to go back to the house.
I'd do it again because I'm an idiot.
Well, that's
Oh
interesting.
man.
Now, if you had the choice, would you guys want to remember some of these details that you can't?
I
Yeah,
would.
I remember all my experience. I remember what happened to me well, not all of it, but I remember a lot of what happened when I
Mhm.
was there and and I was in that room on my
Mhm.
own. But with with Paula,
Mhm.
I don't even know. I went to the loo, come down from the toilet, walked in that room, and
Mhm.
something just changed in me. Like, whoa.
Mhm.
And it was I remember walking through the room really kind of slowly, and just
Yeah.
brain was just go to bed, go to bed, go to bed. So I
Mhm.
just went straight, come down the stairs, walk through. There's a door, another room, the kitchen.
It was.
Like a
Mhm.
loop.
I
You go
rem-
in a loop, and I just went straight upstairs. So I don't know what that grey was doing coming up and downstairs,
Mhm.
Yeah, I know.
um,
But to me, it
or
was.
how I ended up on the other side of the bed. Don't know.
Mm,
Now
but
that
to
part
me,
that part there, Sasha, I'm trying to figure out why that's unusual that you wouldn't roll over to the other side of the bed. I'm trying to figure out why that's so unusual. Help me with that.
Because I don't really move when I'm asleep. I've gone to
and
bed, I
then, and
sleep
then,
on one side of the bed to find myself
yeah,
like completely at the other side of the
the other
bed
side.
and not just
Mhm.
in the middle. No, it's
Okay.
just,
Yeah, and another thing is when I go to sleep, I cannot sleep on my back. And when I
Mm.
did wake up, I was on my back. I had my arms crossed over like that, and my ankles were crossed over each other as well. And why
Wow.
would I be that position? I have no idea. I can't sleep on my back. It kills me. So, to wake up like that is just a total thing in itself.
and that's my natural instinct is to go to that side of the bed
Mhm.
Mm.
and I sleep on my left side.
Mhm.
So to be over there, well, it's just not right.
Now, Paula, you seem more like a risk taker.
I am.
Sasha, do you have to reel her back in? And does she listen?
I'll just do my own thing anyway.
Yeah.
No, like Paula, she's got ghosts wandering through her house, EVPs. I'm going, Paula, you need to tell them to get out. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not thinking, oh yeah, it's all love and roses. It's definitely not.
We sit in their living room and we sit there with the recorder and we're recording each other talking, because this is when stuff kicks off. And one time we were listening to ourselves to see if anything had gone on, and she just shouted, "Oh, effing hell," punched me in the leg and jumped up in the air. I was like, "What?" She said, "I just saw this thing come, boom, like that, boom, and it stood right in front of you."
See, I saw it, you felt it.
I didn't. And so she was like, oh my God, putting the kettle on. So she put the kettle on. So I starts recording and I'm stood next to Paula and she's making a cup of tea and I got a shudder, and you go, and I did that. And I went, oh, I just shuddered. She said, do you what? I said, I just shuddered. And as I said that, his voice goes, as he says, there's something we can't figure out what it says, but it was
But I did a recording not so long ago, didn't I? And I got a
full conversation.
EVP. I had a full conversation with.
Yeah, and I say, well, I don't. When I sleep at her house, I sleep with the light on, all of it on. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. My door in the bedroom's open a bit, but
do your opinions of the Greys differ? Do you both agree on what they are, or do you know?
I have no idea what they are, and that's my opinion. I have theories.
Yeah. We have
theories. That's
talk
it.
about stuff, don't we? I mean, like the clone factor. The Greys say we are one with one who is all. Now, I don't know if that means they are the same as the original whatever that they all became, or if that's supposed to mean the consciousness is, the awareness that people call God or whatever, so I don't know if we are one with one who is all is, say, like if there was a load of clones of me, they would all say we are one with one who is all, because that would be me. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Is that a common thing for witnesses to describe that statement? We are one.
Yeah.
We are one. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say, yeah. Because I've had it. Yeah.
Is that a telepathic message?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they generally they don't talk the telepathic, but I can communicate telepathic in that life, not now. So
well, we do.
Me and Sasha do, but we do it.
It's not on purpose. It's just like
we can say about the same subject. We might not talk for 2 months, might we? But you'd see it on Facebook, and it's basically the same subject that we've just thought about, pings up at the exact same time, and you're like, eh?
How can we be thinking about the same thing at the same time? But lots of that.
Even though we can't see each other's because we've just typed it out and it's been put up at exact same time. So, it's stuff like that. And
I've done that a few times,
with the state of everything going on globally, what's unfolded, the burgeoning of a police state, we're watching it unfold here in America. I don't think we have long before it's inserted into the Pacific Northwest where I live. Probably less than 7 days. So by the time I get this video up, it will have already started. I feel as though things also are going to start happening as far as the supernatural is concerned at the same moment. Do you guys feel the same way? Because here we are in the wake of disclosure, everything that happened at the USS Nimitz, which is parked right off the base here in Bremerton, Washington, where they had the giant flap off the coast of San Diego, and Commander Fravor came forward, and now we kind of know the story. But do you guys agree with me? And I wanted to have you speak to that about things that will start to happen that just seem so awe-inspiring, so incredible. Have you got any messages about no, Paula's no.
I had well, no, but what I can say is that we all have most of us have prophetic things that happen, And mine was, I'd gone to bed as normal I would one night, and I've gone into lucid dreaming. Is it lucid? Is it, you know, I always question that. I can never say that it's actually real. And I walks out at the top of the street, and my street's normal, and then I gets onto the main road, and it's like as if a bomb's hit it. It's there's just destruction, and it's just outside on the main road. Destruction, buildings have collapsed. I can hear water running, there's smoke coming out. And as I'm looking up the road, it's exactly the same up as what it is down. It's just like you've just gone through a war zone. And I see, I've never really seen a disc UFO, a black disc UFO. And I could see one coming down, and that didn't bother me. What came next was the black helicopter, and just totally black helicopter, black windows, whatever it had. And it wasn't unusual, and I've done this so many times, it's not the usual helicopter noise. It is an helicopter noise, but it's an unusual sound. It's quieter, and you know, like they normally go do 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 do.
Right.
It's a bit slower, even though they're faster. And I hear this where I'm stood. The windows of this house cottage have gone through, so there's curtain blowing in a bit of a breeze, and there's a curtain on the floor in all this rubble, and I hear the disc is now there, but the helicopter's up there, and in the core of my head, not through my ears, not in my brain, right in the core, I hear, hide now. And I just dived down. I knew what to do. It was like instinct, straight down and put the curtain over my head, and I could see through the material. And this helicopter, this black helicopter, goes straight past, and then again the disc come back that way, and I knew I had to be afraid of the black helicopter and not the flying disc. I just knew it was the helicopter that terrified me, not the disc. So
I've had dreams like that where I've been leading people and I've known exactly what to do, like tactical maneuvers, like a soldier that has had training, you know, hide here, stop, wait, you know, go, whatever. And when I've woken up, I've thought, how did I know how to do all of that? I don't sit and watch like movies with soldiers in all the time, and I haven't figured out all the hand signals and all this lot. I seem to know them when I'm asleep, you know. So I'd forgotten about it, but I do remember, and I could hear a really loud metallic like clunking, like something was moving around, and it was Samantha Carr and Sarah Dean and a few other people that I used to talk to like years and years ago. And we were all kind of like hiding in these broken bits of building, and I was the leader and taking everybody to safety, and I knew exactly what to do and when to do it. Don't know what that is. Probably just a dream.
Sacha, speak to the voice of someone like a Stephen Greer, Dr. Greer, that talks about there being some kind of great deception coming our way after a global pandemic. Do you believe those words from him?
It's always been a deception.
Dr. Greer, I find him appalling. Actually, I think that he's a complete con artist, rip-off merchant, selling people their own information back to them. Stupid laser beam skywatching BS. I wouldn't listen to a single word he ever said. Or believe it. And everything's benevolent is absolute bullshit. It's not at all.
Okay, so you don't believe any part of his doctrine as it relates to there being some kind of psyop coming globally from
The
the sky.
PSYOP's been running the whole time that the
Yeah.
UFOs have been known about. You know, him saying that, it's like saying, you know, we breathe oxygen. You know, he's stating the obvious all the time. All he's doing is taking everything that people like we say and selling it back to people like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Right. So he packages it underneath the fact that he has connections and he's a doctor. I mean, we see that
and
all
half
the
of the
time.
people in the Disclosure Project have ended up being debunked as fake. And he never comes out and says, we have to write that person off. We have to write that person off. And he's a liar and he's a liar. It's like, oh, let's just move on and not think of it. And all the money that they want and all the money that they're always asking for. And then you see him going, oh, we need another 50,000. Oh, why? Because 50,000 is going to bring disclosure, is it? No, it's not. Because not giving an ordinary person money is not going to make the government tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
They just con artists. They just.
Well, and now, would you call the Greys con artist?
Well, yeah, they're the biggest deceivers that there are in the universe. Wouldn't believe anything that they say. I wouldn't believe anything that you think you've seen when you've been with them. Wouldn't believe anything that they tell you. They are the great deceivers. And they tell you what they want. They know how you're going to respond. And if they know that you're not going to respond in a way that they want you to, or that they can sort of con you into, then they will control your behavior by taking your autonomy away from you. Like when they came to me and they were very obviously doing something to the people in the rest of the house, yet they completely immobilized me. I've gone, like I say, I've gone and done Kung Fu because I've got kids. I was a single mum. So I'm like a wild animal in a cage here being poked with a stick. So you bet. Like Daryl Sims calls him the alien hunter or killer or whatever. I totally relate to that. And people go, oh, you've got to stop being so negative. You've just got to raise your vibration to be that above ET technology. Well, I've just got two things to say to that. I'm not saying but basically, there's no way. There's no way. If you're in the presence of a great, you're going to do what it will let you do.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, what about any kind of benevolent ET that's contacted you? I know you say you haven't been contacted by anything that you would describe as airy, fairy, benevolent, Sacha. But Paula, what about you? Have you been reached out by anything that has enlightened you or empowered you?
No.
I know one person who had a really, really sort of wholesome, like, you know, like love-filled experience, and she's never stopped crying because she'll never have that again. So you can't be touched by this and not be.
As much as that little grey might be there at some times, it's really old and wrinkly but it shows me things. It tells me things, but I don't feel enlightened by it, but I don't feel horrified by it either. I'm just neutral to it, so.
Is there anything that you've done that has kept them away?
They'll just disappear.
What's the gray
they might come back.
Yeah. I mean, do you have you don't have a mantra, you don't burn sage, you don't set your intentions
Nothing like that works. Pure anger.
Nothing.
Religious icons, nothing.
Nothing like that. No. I think I scared them off for a little while because I threatened to kill myself to them and said that, because if they've been interacting with a person for a long time, that person is obviously of value in whatever way. And I said I was going to kill myself, and it stopped for a while.
Have you both been to the brink of suicide?
No, I haven't.
I have,
yeah.
Sacha,
for years, I just didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to be alive.
Yeah. Whereas I might have got to that stage eventually if I hadn't contacted Sacha, but I think I caught Sacha we caught each other at the right time, really, didn't we?
Yeah, because that was when I met you. I was ready to drive my car into a brick wall at high speed.
Yeah,
I'd had enough.
I think you had to hear my story to start recovering from your own. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, because I'd started having the greys. I didn't know anything about them, and they, like, at least with the reptilians, I didn't feel I was scared, but when I look back,
Mhm.
nothing really bad happened. It was just about a reaction to an unusual situation. But
Yeah.
with the Greys, I knew that they'd been there, and I knew I could feel them. I don't know how, I just knew. And I called them chicken shit cowards, hiding, challenged them to show themselves, and they did.
I'm going to show you ladies something here. So in order for me to do this, I'm going to pause the recording here. So let me bring this up here. I'm just going to pause it, and then
I'm
we'll
here.
There we go. Now we'll do it this way.
Yeah.
Okay. So Daryl Sims and I worked together over the weekend, and you brought him up, Sasha.
All right, okay.
One of the things that we had go on here in the little town of Oregon was dealing with cryptids, a haunted house, and in particular a lot of UFO activity. And we called this place the Owl Moon Lab. And Daryl was very curious about these pictures here. One of the bedrooms, the guest bedroom, was also the place where the teenage son committed suicide after he left this family home. Friends of mine ended up buying this house, and one day they found these chalky white handprints near the doorknob. This is, of course, the black light showing it, and then here is us dusting for prints. But have you guys ever seen handprints, white chalky handprints in particular?
Only on. No, I've had fingerprints and finger lines on my body, but not. I've never really took much notice whether they've been on my doors or, I've never looked into that. But bruising, a lot of bruising and marks.
Yeah. Claws and bruises, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is from Daryl Sims. So in the lower left-hand corner, you're kind of describing what the red handprint that says Chile, Brazil, has a mark on it on the guy's abdomen, and again on the woman's arm to the right. But in particular, these prints here have seemed to show up at other people's places on, before, during an abduction. Have you guys never seen anything like that?
No.
Not that I can remember.
Okay. Well, it's always
that
nice
is really creepy, though.
It is, isn't it? But them things, them on the white fingers look like pads, like little.
Yeah. So the ones on the right are Daryl Sims pictures. The one on the left on the door is the one that I found with the homeowner, and there was a lot of similar activity at this property that we were all a part of. And I mean, you guys are saying so many things. This idea that that these portals open, or these vibrational shifts start to happen, or the place has already been priorly geomanced on some degree, where there's activity due to some kind of ritual or geology. Ghost, UFOs, cryptids. What the hell's going on in your opinion? And is there any way for people, let's say someone wants to enjoy this activity, they want to experience what you guys have experienced, what would you tell them?
Don't bother.
Don't, because you'll lose your mind. You'll lose your whole life. Your whole life, you malfunction. Therefore, your life malfunctions.
Yeah.
You end up in a mess. Joining the UFO community sure to open doors, because everything got 10 times worse as soon as I started flapping at the mouth on the internet. Definitely. No, you don't want to be me. That's all I can say.
That's it, same here.
You feel the same way, Paula, even though you like to poke the bear? I mean, you like to get in there with a sharp stick and poke the bear.
How do I feel about it? No, I don't want anybody to be me. It's unique to me anyway. But I wouldn't want anybody to go through what I've gone through, because I think a lot of people like Sacha would take them to the brink. I think because I'm a strong person mentality, that I have actually, I can sit here now and talk about it. But other than that, it's the most idiotic thing to want to even think about wanting to be taken, or Yeah,
well, it's felt like a violation, because there's no way that I've agreed to any of that. No way.
No, and then they say that you signed a contract. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so.
Daryl Sims calls it a form of kidnapping, and
It is.
yeah.
He's
It is,
right.
yeah.
It is. Absolutely. It
Yeah.
is. I
So
agree
people
with
that call
him.
themselves
But
experiencers, because you're no longer abducted, you're an enlightened experiencer, right?
Well, why aren't we returnees, abductees? What's that even mean?
returnees. We've
That's
been
just
returned.
that
I
moment of the
haven't heard that
entire
term,
thing.
returnees. Okay.
Well, why not? Why not? If we're going to be
Right.
abductees, why not returnees?
We've got to come back, haven't we? We're not abducted and that's it. We are.
What does that even mean? That is just the act
A term
of.
in it.
So what goes on behind that? I mean, that
I
word.
don't know what.
I hate
I
it.
don't even know what to call myself anyway. I mean,
No.
only thing that I just go with it on the contactee, abductee, you know what, whatever. I don't like experiencer, but because we don't even know what it is. How can we put an actual word to it? You know. So.
And the interference with the nether regions, you know,
Yeah.
like if anybody else does that, it's called rape.
Mhm.
So, and we have to be okay with this. We have to be okay. Well, we're never going to be okay with it. But this is the stuff we have to contain. Well, you know, living our lives, which come with their own ups and downs anyway. Do you know what I mean? And it's not something that I would. People think, oh, I would handle it better. I would talk to them. I would do this. I would do that. It's like, yeah, you think you would,
Okay.
sorry,
No.
you wouldn't. You won't be able
it's
to.
It's like my friend, and she's right church goer, you know, and sits there reading Bible. Do what you want to do, but me personally, no. And she did say, I know how to handle it. I know how to. This is, you know, a person who's never seen anything.
Pray to
different.
Jesus.
And she says, just pray to Jesus or whatever she said, and I'm like, I knew you were going to say that.
Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah, you know, no.
Tried it all.
If they're going to come, they're going to come. It don't matter what you do, you know.
Right. But knowing that there's people out there that feel like they're just as honest brokers as both of you, and they've had experiences that aren't traumatic, they feel enlightened by these experiences. I mean, you guys got the short end of the stick as far as these experiences are going. I mean, big time. So where do you put them in the category? Do you put them in the bullshit category?
Stockholm syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's more me than you, in it, because
survival.
I have,
Some of them maybe have good experiences. Sorry, can't relate. Good for you. Nice one.
Yeah.
Happy
I've
for
never
you.
had a good one, but I don't.
And they're all allowed to talk about it, but we are not allowed to be. Are you being negative? Oh, stop being so negative. Sorry, you know, like.
Well, how is that received in the public's eye at conferences where they want to have the enlightened version of contact? You're not coming packaged with that. So, are you blacklisted? Are you both? Yes.
Well, not blacklisted, but you know, I've got a reputation for being blunt and the ice queen, and it's like, well, what do you expect? I've been tortured practically my entire life. I have literally run for my life. At one point, I was so scared I couldn't even see, and they've messed with all of my family, and I've not been able to protect them, and they've done terrible things. I've seen terrible things. I don't even talk about all of what I've seen and been through. And I have to keep all that contained while listening to people telling me, you just need to raise your vibration to be that over ET technology. Just shut up. Don't even come near me with that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people leave me alone if they don't want their delusions, you know, popping. But you know, I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, sorry, can't relate. And I find it very hard to believe people saying, "Oh, I've been abducted every night." Well, we've had spates of being taken, but people reckon they're taken every single night for the whole lives. Why? Why? What for? What? So, you know, what are you doing? Oh, well, no, you're not. I don't believe you. Jim Sparks, no, right off, not having it. All that kind of stuff. I'm special. I'm in an ET school. I'm
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
But knowing Sacha, Paula, that you guys have been introduced to what I would call a secret school, even if you feel that it's tortured you to a degree here, you're in a privileged spot of information. If you had the choice, would you want to unlearn all this, even knowing the negative?
No.
No.
Okay.
I,
So
I
you
want
No.
to
wouldn't.
know the actuality of life
So you
Yeah.
would take the red
And this
pill.
is all
Yeah.
part of life.
Mm-hmm.
all day
Yeah.
long. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
all day long.
Mm-hmm. What
I
you
w-
alluded to earlier too, Paula, about you having an inherent ability, psychic powers. Have you guys both noticed any kind of amplitude with any connection or higher gifts?
No. It comes in waves, doesn't it, Sasha?
a
It's
higher. Oh, what do you mean by a higher power?
Well, intuition. Let's just call it that.
Yeah,
all
totally.
telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, right. Listen. So we've all had these experiences from being children, and you can teach a child sign language before the child can speak. So
Mm.
telepathy is not even speaking. You don't have to learn anything. It's just.
And
So if
it's
they've been
not all
taking us,
about words.
psychic ability is telepathy and empathy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you've been exposed to telepathy through
Mm-hmm.
ETs from being very young, it's just a natural thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
this psychic ability and all the rest of it, it's just electricity. It's everything's
It's
electricity.
an
You've got it
energy.
coming back into your body, and if your skin's your brain's your processing unit. Your skin's telling you everything about your entire environment. Your brain's going to make
Mm.
sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the monkey brain needs to be learned how to, you need to slap the monkey and shut it up and get behind that to the consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
And then I fully believe that there is an awareness, that there's an intelligence, that we've put a face on, that man made God in his own image, because we can't relate to anything if it hasn't got a face. So this
Mm-hmm.
awareness, if you become aware of it genuinely, it'll become aware that you're aware of it. And then if you become aware that it's aware of you being aware of it, then
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit funky.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I am some sort of avatar. I'm a little meat machine with the flying spaghetti monster inside me, my little
Mm-hmm.
brain, eyeballs, and nervous system.
I thought about not diving into this question, but I have to ask you guys whether or not you both feel as though they're interested in you as breeders. Is that
No.
part of what they're doing?
No.
Not with
No.
Not me.
Paula.
Not with me.
No.
No.
Not with Paula.
No.
Okay.
I had
They
an
show me things.
experience where I've had somebody stood with my legs in the air and my arms in the air, and I had a green laser light on my cock of my arm. I actually laughed at myself because I thought I was acting out a dream, but I couldn't have got myself into that position anyway. So I kind of went to put my arms and legs down, but couldn't feel my body, and there was somebody stood between my feet. So I lived alone. There shouldn't have been anyone there. Actually, outside my bedroom window was a street light, so it should have been all orange. And I'm saying, put the light on, thinking if someone puts the light on, I'll be able to move. And then I actually remember falling or getting drowsy and my eyes closing again, falling asleep in my dream. So I don't think it was a dream, but I had a laser light on my arm and they were stood between my legs and my legs were in the air. I've had 5 children. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know why my legs were in the air, but they were obviously up to something. I don't really like to go down that road too much, to be fair.
Mine, I've never had. I've had the
Imagination overload.
bruises.
But you've had a hysterectomy, haven't you? So there's no way.
I've had a hysterectomy, so no way I can have any more children. But yet they still come. So, but mine has never. I've never remembered anything that they've done out down there. But mine is they like do experiment in like things to do, like saying to me, you've got to remember how to fly, you've got to do this, you've got to put these visors on, you've got to. So mine's more showing me things and putting me through trauma than rather the sexual side of, So
Is it always traumatic? I mean, is there always a bit of trauma, PTSD
yeah.
associated with
It's
this?
always,
Mm,
they always, you never get used to it.
No, every
mm,
time's like the
Um,
first time. It's as shocking
every
every
time is
time.
like the first time, and the first time is never like the second time.
mm-hmm.
Every incident that is totally different to the last. So yeah,
When
you
was the
never get
last
used.
time for Paula? When was the last time for you?
Oh, a long time ago now. Maybe because in between that I have incidents of spirits, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm now getting to the age where I just can't be bothered writing it all down because it comes off that often. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have time to do anything. But
Mm-hmm.
um, alien wise, maybe 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
2, 3. But in between that, it's spirit ghost
Mm-hmm.
sort of
But
thing.
don't you
Yeah.
feel it's connected between the
No.
ghost and the UFO stuff? I
Well, we
mean,
have them. It it is. I think it is connected, but we don't have them at the same time. Why
mm,
don't we see a ghost stood next to a grey? You
mm-hmm.
know, that's how I've never had that.
Mm-hmm.
There always been. There've always been
Like
separate
I said,
issues.
it's either one thing going on or the
Or the
other.
other.
If the
Yeah.
ET stuff,
Yeah.
it's not so much the paranormal because that's but
Mm-hmm.
then when they've gone, it's all paranormal. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yes,
It's either
you
one
were
or the other.
filming. We were filming yesterday, and I went off. Paula saw something in my kitchen.
No, it were
It was
kind of
something fall down.
straight
Mm-hmm.
down. A
Well,
black
what?
something. It were
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
too
could.
fast.
Nothing could have
Too fast.
actually done anything from
What
nothing.
about what
You know,
about
I want.
entities of any kind? Are you besides alien stuff? Are other things interacting with you? Entities. Some
The
people describe a whole host
yeah,
of
we
entity contacts.
black. What about the black fuzzy balls,
Yeah,
Sacha?
but they're part of the
Somebody.
thing with the reptilians. They're those little fuzzy pet things that they have that
Oh,
we
that you
see.
described,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah, in the
I
So
have
first
right,
seen
hour.
them as
see
well.
them in energy form, and we've seen them
Mm-hmm.
in the reality. But
But there is
Paula came here, and I'm on this sofa. I've got another sofa over there. So Paula's sat over there, and I'm laid. So I've got top of my head is pointed towards Paula, and for whatever reason, I just kind of sat up and I turned and looked like that. Just
and
as
I
I
would
saw this black thing go like
I
a slinky, it went like that
yeah,
from the floor, and she
the
was so
bound,
convinced it was my black cat that she got up and
and I
looked
was
around the house and
calling
said,
it,
"The cat's not here. The cat's not here."
and
I
I
saw
saw
it.
it first. And there was a time when I was sat on my bed at the other house, and it
Mm-hmm.
was daytime. It was nice and sunny outside,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sat on my bed, and I had my laptop on my knees, and I sees out of my peripheral view as I'm typing away. I sees the black fuzzy ball thing kind of get onto my bed,
Mm-hmm.
and then jump over my knees. So it'd come between the computer screen and my body, and it's gone straight across down and jumped off the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And it caused lines
On your
on my
computer.
computer screen for
Mm-hmm.
about 10 minutes, and then I had to reboot it all and everything, and then it was gone. But that was daytime,
Mm-hmm.
it's not all, it doesn't all happen at night, as people
We see a
perceive
lot
it.
of lights zooming about, little black
Looking
things
like, yeah,
shooting across.
black,
It's not
like little black
floaters.
balls,
Yeah,
Black
um,
balls.
yeah.
Okay.
little black
Not
balls.
orbs.
These are like little, like if you think of a little tiny, tiny cannonball,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that, and they just zoom across, come out of a wall, zoom across. They're tiny, they're not, black.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But
I once saw the air
Mm-hmm.
just twist like that. Being two friends, I was sat next to my friend Emma. We were watching TV. Her fella Jim was sat there, and we all went like that as it happened. We all saw it, and it was just like the air whoop twisted. Weird.
Right.
See it all, like just
That
a
reminds me
million
of
things
when
like
you're
that.
talking about these black balls. I just listened to Robbie Williams discuss his encounters that he's had, and he describes seeing a spacecraft respond to some music he was playing, and a black tube come into the deck party he was having or on the balcony, and a black tube, kind of what you were describing, come between him and all his guests and fly through the wall. But
Right.
that was the first
I
time I
see.
ever heard that before.
I've had the white tube come through my window with
Mm-hmm.
a ball above my head.
Mm-hmm.
But these little black balls are
Mm-hmm.
just like, if you think of a cannonball,
Mm-hmm.
like that. They're more solid than, you can't see through them. They are actually solid, but
Yeah,
they
solid
look,
black.
but they look fuzzy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that they're solid. You know, they're not. You understand what I mean, Sacha? Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen loads.
What about a rip in space and time? Have you guys ever witnessed a portal? Anything like that in your living room or in your house or outside?
Outside now.
My fella has. He said he woke up and there was a black swirl, like it was an opening at the bottom of his bed. He said he just sat up and punched it. Typical caveman. Oh, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
But it was like a black swirl in like an opening. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
No, me either.
Only time when I've seen an opening is on the 3 orange balls on a school field. And
that's mad. That was described at the Skinwalker Ranch. That was, you know, the orange pulsating circle that was pulsing like a heartbeat, and then the muscular being stepped out of it. Right?
I don't know about that.
Paula's seen 3 at the same time. She has no idea about this. It was me who was telling her afterwards. And a grey came out of hers, not a muscly thing. But
wait, so
I was
Paula saw the orange orb open
I
up
was right
and something
there.
walked out?
There were 3, but there wasn't all. Well, do you want me to go through that?
Yeah.
From the beginning.
I'll be back in a minute. You get on with that.
Do you guys
I'm gonna have to make. Well,
Okay.
I'm going to have to make a drink when I've told this one because I've got a dry throat.
Do you guys want to pause for a second?
Let's
take a 5. I'm going to pause the recording and we'll come back and I'm going to have you tell the story.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Cyril, but that's because he doesn't like it, and that's what happened to us. It's like if you're negative, like, oh, stop being so negative. It's your own fault that you get abducted because you're being so negative. It's like, no, it's a negative thing. You know, you know, when you, like, he was mad about his kids. He touched my kids, I'll kill you. Well, isn't that a normal human reaction?
Thing to do, yeah.
That's how I felt.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, he's an MC every year, an event we have about 60 miles down the road. And he has a really good sense of humor, you know, gallows humor, we call it. He's a lot of fun, but I could see that he would be probably pushed away from things like, you know, enlightenment contactee, Dr. Greer type of stuff, or, you know, out here we have the ESETI Ranch. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just down the road from us. But I've never really spoken to witnesses that have had truly traumatic experiences to the degree to which you guys have. There was one individual out of Portland, Oregon, that was regressed, and he brought a lot of recall back, and he kind of regretted doing it because it just it was always in his mind.
Re-traumatize him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is this always in your mind?
I do not advocate it. I do, all the time. I do not advocate hypnosis, even though I did try it recently. I knew that it wouldn't happen because there's no way that I'm going to go back to a moment where I feel completely traumatized. But I said to people, you know, if you can't cope with what you've got going on, you're just going to add to it. And the person who's going to hypnotize you is not going to be there for you every time you have a breakdown over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go off on with the lives.
We've got the money, and that's it.
Not what I wanted from you. Bye.
Right, because you're a part of a larger documentary or study that they're interested in doing. And okay, now Paula, you're busily writing periodically here. Are you having recall or?
No, what it is because I've had that so much. I've got to write down as I'm remembering it. So you want to talk about the orange globes, which is like 10th down my list because I tend to put them in what is it, order, year order, you know, or rather age order. So I've got to then find where it is on that, because when I'm doing shows with Sacha, I'm trying to do it in an order. So now it's mixed up. So I've got to remember what I'm doing next now, you know. So
Sure, no problem.
So you want me to talk about the orange book?
Only if you want to.
Yeah, I will. So at that moment, I had at the time, oh God, I can't even remember, but it was just before I met Sacha. So would it have been at age 41? How old were I, Sacha?
Be about that, yeah.
Yeah. And now I don't even remember whether it were a dream. I don't remember. Probably when I told you, it might have been, I don't know, Sacha. But anyway, from what I'm remembering now, I don't know. But we were walking on, it's a road going that way. And are you still there, Sacha?
I'm here, love, yeah.
All right. So yeah, so you're going that, we're going that way, opposite way to Main Road. And we're coming, me and the ex is coming in from the other side of it's called a snicket over in America.
An alleyway, narrow alleyway.
Yeah, it's very narrow. And to the right of us is a little dry stone wall, to call it, and to the left of us is a school. And this does actually exist. So, and when I'm walking on with my ex-cave, the first thing I noticed was that the fence had changed. I haven't been on, I've no reason to go on there. There's nothing on there for me to go on for that way. So the fence had actually changed to what it used to be. So it's now a big grey metal fence with like spikes on top. And I'm walking on, we're talking, it was night time, and then I kind of got past this, like a bunch of overgrown trees, so you couldn't see through them at all. And I noticed a globe, an orange globe, that was settled on the ground. And as I'm walking further on, I'm getting eyesight of another two to the side of it, to the left of it. But I could tell that they were spaced out, because the one nearest to me was higher than the one behind that, and the one kind of in front of that a little bit. So I'd say it was a triangle formation that it were in, but they weren't in a long row, but they were kind of that way. I could tell by heights, not much height difference, but they were there. And they were bright enough, but they were dull at the same time. I can't really explain how it was. They were very like a sunset orange, and I stood there and I kind of stopped Kev, and I was like, what are them? You know, it didn't bother me. They were just there, and what else can you think of except you're looking in awe at these things that are so way out. I've never seen out like them before. And we stood there watching these things, and the one to the right started like opening up. It were alive. I could only say that they are alive. And from the centre, it kind of started opening up and then closing. And then every time it opened it up, it got a bit bigger. Then it had closed, but never closed fully. And then it had opened up again, get to there, open up again, get to there. And it kept doing that. It were like a heartbeat rhythm. And I could see then that there was rounded, you know, like a donut. It had opened up basically like a donut. And when I looked again, I could see through the field going beyond it. So I could see the grass. It was like, there were no glow coming off these globes. It wasn't showing any, you know, it wasn't lighting the grass up, or it should have done, but there wasn't. And so, but I could still see through, even though at night time I could see the grass at the other side, which I shouldn't even been able to see. And then all of a sudden this grey just appeared. Now it looked really tall, because I'd said these globes were probably about 10 foot, you know, and it looked really tall. If you think of that film Close Encounters, and they're coming, the main spindly tall one, you know, with long arms, it were a bit like that, but it wasn't thin and, you know, it were tall. It were a bit like that. And then it kind of just like, I don't know whether he stepped out of it, stepped through it, or what, because it didn't have a bottom opening. It kind of donut shape. And it kind of come forward. But as he's coming forward, he's getting smaller, not taller, which is, you know, when somebody's coming towards you, they're going to get taller, but it was getting smaller. And his form seemed to change. It wasn't, as it looked there, really tall and muscular or whatever. As it was getting closer, its form had, by the time it had got near me, the form of it had changed. And it was only a little thing, you know, 3.5, 4 foot. And it was and it was walking down the banking of the Schofield. And I said, oh, look, it was really weird because I'd never really approached it like that. But I went, oh, look, there's a little grey there. You know, like it were a little puppy or...
Right.
And looking back, I think, hey, what the hell were all that about? But I went, oh, look, Kev, there's a little grey there, right? Excited, you know. You know, you see, oh, look, a little puppy. And he was like that. And he went, that's not a grey, it's a little old woman. Yeah. But the grey didn't have any lycra suit on, as I'd seen previously. It was just the grey, you know, and it had like lines, like chest bone or whatever, you know. I don't know whether it was. I don't know whether it's the grey suit that covers the grey, so it looks like it's naked. I don't know. And I couldn't see any genitalia. I couldn't see out like that, but I just remember this sort of muscular sort of thing here. And he's convinced it's a little old woman with grey hair. And I'm looking at totally something different, which is a total grey. So he carries on walking. I was right happy. I would just carry on walking and talking to him, and he's just talking back to me. But this thing at the other side, this little grey at the other side, is walking at the side of us, at the other side of the fence, until it gets to the end where it can't go in. Well, it could have gone through gapping fence, but it didn't. It kind of slowed down at our pace. And all I remember it saying is, Paula, I love you, like this. I'm like, what the hell was that? And I was like, ooh, yeah. And you know, just so bizarre. I have never had an experience like that where and it was right, like I said before, that I love you was right in the core of it wasn't even my brain, it was just right in, it were, you know. And I was like, ooh, right giddy about it. But then I don't remember out after that, you know. So I don't know where the hell that come from. It was just weird. But it wasn't enlightening, you know. There might have been positivity there because it's actually said it loves me. It's more than what my boyfriend did, you know. So there was something there.
Right.
You know?
But the significance is that was reported as phenomenon at the Skinwalker Ranch, and people keep going on and on about the Skinwalker Ranch, and I go, it's not unique. That is not unique. That happened in Bradford. Do you know what I mean? There's things, I can't even remember off the top of my head now. When I was reading the book, I was like, well, I've seen that. Paula's
Mhm.
seen that.
Mhm.
What's the big deal? You know, you go into all this trouble of buying this land and doing all these experiments. All you need to do is follow somebody like me or Paula around, and you know, eventually you'll see it. And
Yeah.
we're not unique, far from it.
No.
No, I mean, I think it's
And
become it's like a paranormal Disneyland, and they've marketed it as such. And these
yeah.
areas where the veil's thinner are everywhere, to the point where we started calling them skin twins. You know, twins to the Skinwalker Ranch. So, you know, it sounds like.
I think the phenomena there needs a living agent in the area. That's why
Mhm.
it doesn't happen all the time. It's got to have somebody like us living there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it goes, shut up. I think the cat's
The cats know
seen a
better.
spider go under the
Mhm.
sofa.
Weirdly enough, mine's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do your cat,
Something
do
under the
your
sofa of
animals know
interest.
when things are going on? It's funny, your
yeah.
cats are kind of acting
Well,
up at the same time.
Oh yeah, you
yeah.
see them
Well,
watching it, and they're like that. They're going,
Mm-hmm.
both of them.
I can
It's
tell you
like,
about.
what are they looking at?
Yeah. I can tell you about a grey that turned into a cat.
Oh,
It was
really?
my cat.
You're a crazy cat lady.
I've got
Yeah.
some little love. It's the only thing I've got in it. So
Well, we
it's
both
either
had
a
3
man,
cats until
it's either a
recently.
man,
Mhm.
children, or cats, and I think I know which I'd have my cats.
Right.
I've got them all, glutton for punishment.
Well, I appreciate both of you taking the time out to talk to me and everybody else who's going to download this and listen to it. And, you know, you put yourself out there in a way that a lot of people respect in the end. It may be met with some disagreement from, you know, the Stephen Greers of the world and people that feel as though this only has one story and you need to be enlightened in order to appreciate it that way. But I don't think it is necessarily that way. I mean, that has not been my
No.
overall experience, that this is one pure story. There's lots of different
But you
weird
know,
branches on it.
life is hard, life is weird, and people just want something to believe in that's bigger than themselves. So I do understand why people believe all this stuff. I also understand why people don't believe all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's a big
Yeah.
leap of imagination for some.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know until you know. You just don't until it happens to you. You can believe it, but believing
Mhm.
and knowing are
Mhm.
actually a million miles away from each other.
Do either one of you have something coming up that isn't conference related? Are you doing any live feeds like this again?
Well, we
Any
do.
live panel discussions?
We do. We're doing. What is it, Sasha? You explain.
We'll call it, yeah. Well, we
Twice a week.
decided we needed to get our stuff out there. We wanted it to reach the people like us. It's not for everybody, you know, people listening and appreciating it, great. But you know, our words have to find the right people. And so we're calling it the Abductee Diary. So basically, we're going through all Paula's experiences. Then there's the big chunk of stuff, the reptilian thing of my story. Then how Paula joined in with that.
Mhm.
There's other people who are all tied into that same thing. So we're going to cover
And
that.
it's not just that; it's the spirit side and unusual.
Yeah. I mean, like all experiences. So the abductee stuff, but also paranormal. So what I'm doing is I've created
Twice a
playlists.
week.
This is all Paula for now. That I've got other people lined up, and also going to do like a haunted one and the abductee one.
Mhm.
I've got my radio show coming back on air. But that's all on the same YouTube channel anyway.
Okay, and that YouTube channel again is what?
Paranormal Mysteries on ANW. If it's Sacha Christie, I think.
Yeah.
You'll find me.
ANW is an A Northwest. ANW.
Access Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Access Northwest. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that the one
And
that
then
we're
we're actually writing a book together. Paula's going to do the artwork, and I'm going to do the wordy bits.
Okay. That's perfect. So now people know where to go. All right, ladies. Thanks for coming on. Be
Thanks for
careful
having
out
us.
there, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, that was my conversation with Sacha Christie and fellow experiencer Paula Elisabeth Green. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, they do have a YouTube channel where they do a breakdown of more details surrounding everything you just heard. And all you have to do is type in Sacha Christie on the YouTube, and you'll be able to find both their stories. Paula Elisabeth Green is the other name. And I think there's at least 4 or 5 parts of the chapter here. Again, this is due to, well, I gather that they had more flexibility in their schedule due to quarantine. And so they were quarantined, especially over in the UK, where it was a different level of security going on. Not that we weren't locked down at all here, but they certainly were big time for a while. And so there's some pretty intensive, long-form interviews with both of them, talking back and forth on Zoom. So check that out. Now, like I said, I just got back from a ghost hunt with the Olympic Peninsula Paranormal Society, and team leader Mary Bethune, who was a live guest at the Port Townsend Manresa Castle. And I just got back from we went from basically 6 at night to 6 in the morning. And it is, everything you would think of when you think of a haunted house in an old town on the sea. It's like a 4-story, 5-story mansion with servant quarters and all of that, secret, staircases, and a lot of history, and even a little girl ghost named Annabelle. So people picked spots to lay their cot. Some people didn't sleep at all. I certainly wasn't one of those people. I ended up sleeping up in the attic and waiting for perhaps Annabelle to come out and play. But not much happened when I slept upstairs in the attic by myself with the creepy children's toys all around me. Oddly enough, even my batteries functioned well. However, in the basement, there was some action. So what kind of action? Well, there was a creepy right-footed wet boot print that we followed along the wet, dripping, cold, musty basement area. And if I said attic earlier, I mean the basement. I was in the attic. The basement was, as a basement should be, creepy and full of dark mystery. And of course, they broke out the SLS camera. There was something crazy going on that. Of course, that's the stick figure ghost apparatus made by Microsoft that has been converted into a visual ghost aid. And then they did the Estes method, which, if you don't know what that is, that's quite the method of sensory deprivation, to where you can basically have somebody go through sensory deprivation, and those of us on the outside world with full sensory appreciation ask the question to the person in deprivation, questions that they can't hear or see, and then they answer them based upon the static coming into their ears. Some interesting stuff. And we heard voices. At the Al Moon Lab, we would hear voices recorded. Oftentimes, we wouldn't hear human voices, hardly ever, in real time. But that wasn't the case at the Walker-Ames House. So I can say for certain that we heard definitely women talking upstairs and a man's voice upstairs. So if you get a chance, go on the tour, look up Pete Orbea in Gig Harbor, Washington. Take a tour if you're in the Northwest. Now that quarantine's over, you can look it up. It's Walker-Ames, A-M-E-S. And they do tours weekly, starting up here soon. And it's a good time. And there's mysteries afoot that you should look at and unfold. Okay, thanks for listening. I will be back again next week. Thanks for liking, subscribing, all that stuff. Going to the Patreon store, going to strangebrowradio.com. That's where we have it all, including the Al Moon audiobook, A Paranormal Experiment. I'm dog tired. I'm taking a nap. We'll talk to you later, and I'll see you in the trees.